Hello, this is Eileen, the environmental educator, and in this video we're going to talk about something that made headlines just in the last day or two here. This is the Yellowstone River. A bridge collapsed and a freight train falls into the river. Yeah, it's not so funny, but right here's a picture of that, and multiple cars fell into the river. And, this was covered a lot of places because, it was carrying hot asphalt and molten sulfur, which are, considered to be, hazardous materials. So this was covered a lot of places. The Yellowstone River, it actually starts outside of Yellowstone National Park in the mountains in Wyoming is the headwaters, and it flows into Yellowstone Park. It basically creates the Yellowstone Lake, and its deepest point is like 430 feet, and then it goes out through Yellowstone, and it goes out through Gardner. It goes up through Yellowstone, out through the Gardner, the north entrance, and with that big arches, that famous arch, and then it goes out to Livingston, and Bozeman is just right here west of Livingston, and it goes out down through Billings, and then out into farm country here in eastern Montana, and then you get up into oil country here, and it goes out into North Dakota before it goes into the Missouri, and then into the Mississippi. So, this is a powerful river. And right here, this is the Park Service at nps.gov, and this is the Yellowstone River page. And it says that the Yellowstone River is the last major undammed river in the lower 48 states, flowing 671 miles from its source southeast of Yellowstone into the Missouri River and eventually into the Atlantic Ocean. Yeah. So it's a very long river. It's very powerful. People will not go swimming in the Yellowstone. It goes up through Livingston and out through Billings, and I've spent a fair amount of time in Livingston, a little in Billings, but I know people in both locations, and especially hanging out near the river in Livingston, no one ever goes swimming in it. There is like even a shallow section that you could be tempted to, like in a hot day, and maybe people go wading out in that. But even if it's like 5-6 feet deep, some people don't even want to boat in it, because if something happens in your boat, you're now in the water, and the currents in this river have taken a lot of lives, is what people say. And here's a map of it on USGS.gov, and it comes in from Wyoming. Yep, here's it into the lake, and it goes up. Yep, up, and then out in, and then the Gardner River goes out in Gardner too. The Yellowstone River exits in Gardner, so the Gardner River is a tributary of the Yellowstone, and then the Yellowstone just continues to go up, and it is pristine. AmericanRivers.org calls it a wildlife paradise, and pristine is definitely a word for it, because where it comes out in Wyoming and then comes into it is really unpopulated land. Okay, so nothing's polluted there, right? Then it comes in through the park, which is absolutely protected land, and then out through Montana, which is pretty big population, so it doesn't really get polluted from Montana. But right here, this spill was happened from a bridge collapse. Now this is a train bridge. But right here, the infrastructurereportcard.org, it talks about bridges in America, and this is just bridges, car bridges, I think, but the same can be said for all of our infrastructure, I think. There are more than 617,000 bridges across the U.S. currently 42% of all bridges are at least 50 years old. Yeah, and 7.5% of the nation's bridges are considered structurally deficient, meaning they are in poor condition. Unfortunately, 178 million trips are taken across these structurally deficient bridges every day. Okay, so our bridges are in trouble, and when that happens, this can happen. This could be a passenger car too, on many bridges across this country. And it's going to be happening because we're not fixing our bridges. So right now, they say that, that there's no real hazard from this spill right now here. They say that they're shutting down drinking water intakes downstream while they evaluate the danger. Because, it was carrying hazardous materials into the rushing water below. It is still spring runoff, and that actually, they say, it helped because it's diluting the hazardous material right here. Hazardous material was being diluted by the swollen river, so there was no immediate danger for the crews working at the site. And so this happened about 40 miles west of Billings in Stillwater County, in a town called Columbus. The area is sparsely populated and surrounded by ranch and farmland. But, the water treatment plants in the area did institute emergency measures due to the potential hazmat spill, and they asked residents to conserve water. The collapse is under investigation. They say, the river was swollen with recent heavy rains, but it's unclear if that was a factor, right? I mean, these big bridges are supposed to be built to withstand the spring runoff and heavy rains. I mean, that's just, baked into the cake. So, like every other event, all these articles really say the same thing with just a few little different things. But right here it says local fishing access will be closed. Water treatment plants, irrigation districts, and industrial companies are taking appropriate precautions, according to the Yellowstone County Sheriff's Office. And they're asking people to conserve water again. And it says here that Montana Rail Link is a Class 2 regional railroad operating more than 900 miles of track across Montana and Idaho, according to the company's website. So that is the company whose bridge didn't hold its load. But this ABC News article said that the collapse also took out fiber optic cable, providing internet services to many customers in the state. The high-speed provider GlobalNet said, "This is a major fiber route through Montana." According a recording on the company's phone line said Saturday, "This is affecting all GlobalNet customers. Connectivity will either be down or extremely slow." So, all these corridors, I guess, carry more than freight. They're also a place where, fiber optic companies are like, well, that's a good place for us to have our lines go through too. So here's another article, CBS, and the difference in this article basically is that sulfur is a common element used as fertilizer as well as an insecticide, fungicide, and rodenticide. So a lot of sides going on with that. But right now, we have a train derailment, which is, very much a part of our failing infrastructure in this country. Right here, bridge conditions by year, green is good, the rustish is fair. And when you scroll to the bottom here, here's the year 2019, and that's when good bridges became less than fair bridges. Yeah. And now it doesn't say that fear means poor, but, fear is definitely on the way to being structurally deficient if it isn't completely structurally deficient. And right now, this was 2019. So, at that point, 291,333 car bridges were fair, and 279,582 were good. So this isn't a good graph. This isn't a good stat. And when things like that happen, accidents like this happen. So we're going to be seeing more headlines like this. And we were pretty lucky in this one because the hazmat material wasn't that as dangerous as it could be. And this spill, it's a small bridge, so it was limited in scale and there isn't major damage. But with the state of things, with the state of the infrastructure, and the fact that we keep using hazardous materials unnecessarily because no one, not even Bobby Kennedy, will allow solutions that would, end our use of the majority of hazardous materials and toxins and chemicals that we use, we're going to keep seeing headlines like this. And they're going to be more disastrous than this event. So stay tuned, people.